Hi, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado, and welcome to another one of my photography talks. Today I want to talk about light. So the light that I use to film this is one of those sad lights that if you go back or have seen, it's one of the shows I did about these lights that are made for sunlight affected disorder, and they're full spectrum lighting. If you set your white balance for daylight, you'll get a perfect color balance. And often I would shoot these and the windows were uncovered. Right now they're covered with black fabric because I have a portrait shoot here today and I need to darken my studio completely so that I can put on my studio lights with modeling lights and actually see what I'm going to get. If the room is too bright with daylight, I can't really see. But so you can see the difference between a regular video that I've done where the windows are uncovered. There's a lot of daylight. And the beauty of shooting with these kinds of lights is if you're shooting in a place where there's windows, you don't have to filter anything and say, okay, well, I've got, back in the film photography days when we were making movies and you're using hot tungsten lights. Tungsten lights have a warm 3200 Kelvin temperature balance. And when you photograph outside, but you use those inside lights and you set your white balance for tungsten, all the scenes outside go blue. They're really, really blue. The beauty of these lights is they don't, and you would see that in those other videos when I had the windows uncovered. But the most important thing we have is light. And that light is, maybe this big by this big. It's a broad light that has a softness to it. But even from across the room, because it's across the room, you see this shadow. And everything we do is about light. And when that window was open and the light was filling in here, it lit that background a little bit and softened that shadow. And you could bring that light closer to me and you'd have to reduce your exposure because as you bring it closer, it gets brighter. But you would get a softer feeling. You would get a softer overall feeling. The closer that light gets, it becomes a bigger source to me. The further away it goes, the smaller that source becomes. So even though that source is this big, it's so far away, it's not able to light anything but, in a smallish, it becomes a smaller source because of its distance. Just like the sun is a gigantic light source, but because of its distance, it's a very small light source. And so you get really heavy shadows. If you put a piece of frost over one of these lights, it'll soften up the shadow some more because it becomes a broader piece of light. The light is maybe the size of now your frost. Just like if you put a cloud in front of the sky, in front of the sun, you get a softer light on a person's face because it's basically a frost in front of that hard pinpoint light source. But lighting is the most important thing we have. Lighting is what we really are doing. As photographers, we're photographing the light. We're not photographing stuff, we're photographing the light on stuff. So the next time you take a photograph, think about what is the light here? If I am standing outside and the person is looking and the light is in front of them and they're squinting and there's heavy eyeshadows, look at those before you photograph. If you were to turn them around the other way and now there's no hard light on their face and the light is behind them and now it's lighting the hair on the back, but their face is completely even because it's all in shade, but it's still plenty bright, and you expose for that, I think you get a much more pleasing photograph and they're not squinting. But light is the most important thing. If you're at a pub, I was at a pub last night that had a fire, that fire was throwing light on people's faces. If they turn away from the light, then they have kind of a dark face in the front because the light isn't all around the room, it's only on one side. But if you want to photograph them, if you ask them to turn into the light, their face is completely illuminated. But if you don't even see that, you cannot work with that. It doesn't become at your disposal, but if you see that. So wherever you go, even if you're not photographing, just look at people and be aware of where the lights are in a room, or where they are outside, or where the windows are, and be aware of what that light is doing, because that's what you're going to photograph. In every single photograph you make, the light on stuff, not the stuff. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button, and I welcome your comments too, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching.